And we're very delighted to welcome to the studio today a wonderful conductor. His name is Gevorg Sargsyan. Gevorg, welcome to our program.
Thanks for having me. Thank you, Steve.
I'm going to give just a little brief bio. I'll keep this to under 20 minutes because I want people watching to know a little bit about who you are. You are an Armenian-born conductor and music director based in Singapore and Saudi Arabia. So you've managed to come from Armenia to Singapore and Saudi Arabia. You're a recipient of the Gevorg Solti Award, the conducting award. That's a highly prestigious award. You've conducted orchestras and opera productions throughout Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, including the Czech Chamber Philharmonic Orchestra, the Armenian National Opera and Ballet Theater, and you've conducted in Southeast Asia. You've been educated in Armenia, Vienna, and London, and you combine your acting, conducting career with teaching, and you give masterclasses and cultural leadership, and you currently serve as the artistic director of music hubs for the Ministry of Culture of Saudi Arabia, and you're also a lecturer, adjudicator, and your mentor for young musicians. So we've kept that very brief, but that's a very, very distinguished background. So we're delighted to have you here. I wanted to ask you, Gevorg, what your relationship is, and tell me about the creation and growth of the Chole Orchestra, because the Chole Orchestra project is part of Sound Espressivo, and I'm learning that you're the conductor. And tell us how that developed.
Well, it started as a simple idea that auditions were a bit difficult to do, and orchestras needing those orchestras that value new, fresh faces and new sounds, they needed new soloists, but they didn't know how to find them, and sometimes it was expensive, and agencies are, not helping much. We noticed that everywhere they get same soloist every season, same people performing everywhere. But we know as educators and as conductor myself, I know a lot of among my network that there are many good, talented people that absolutely must be on that stages, but nobody knows about them. So Anna and I, we figured that there's something need to be done about it, and from this idea, we developed this audition program that is a platform basically that connects orchestras with the soloists. And it has that kind of a financial model that is very beneficial for everyone. And when things are beneficial for everyone, it's a win-win. So it started off from that.
And so the Chole Orchestra performs not only at Carnegie but also makes recordings.
Everywhere we do recordings. Then we evolve into that. We started working with Cicerone recording label. That was also on board with the same idea that we want to have more fresh names and fresh faces and basically a new generation of amazing musicians that can be, recorded and have legacy. So yeah, we started recording. We started working with orchestras who also want their orchestra name to be more, recognizable to wider audiences. And from there, we developed a good network of orchestras around the world. It's not just the States. We were working in Latin America, in Europe, in different places. And yeah, so recordings work with the same soloist that we audition, and then we offer them option for recording pieces that they want to, and do an albums. We did few already, quite a number of actually.
Now I know that Anna's project was connected to the pandemic because she felt that people needed a stage to perform on and nobody was performing. So she created this kind of a virtual platform for young kids really, but also accomplished artists and professionals. Is that pretty much how Cole Orchestra started as well?
Look, I think Anna and I, without knowing about each other, we were doing sort of similar thing, but Anna was doing it in America and I was doing it in Singapore when I was living there during pandemic. My colleague and I there, we created this thing called Brilliant Talent Discovery. And Brilliant Talent Discovery was a platform that was doing sort of a competition, but not as a mainstream, those online everybody wins kind of competition. It was more of a audition based and really recognizable platform in Asia. And then we sort of heard from each other in social media, connected with Anna, seemingly doing similar things, but in different parts of the world, and then decided to join forces and create a Cole Orchestra and move forward from that. Yeah, so it is in many ways it is similar.
Now you are particularly adept and skilled and very interested in bringing musicians together from all over the world, from different countries, through recording and performance. That must be a challenge, but also very rewarding, I would think.
It is. Obviously, it is rewarding when you see how these people come together and not knowing about each other, but how they collaborate, how they get excited on playing together, conducting, and performing. Challenge aside, there's challenges to everything, but it's not really that much about challenges. How we deal with it and what is the final result of that. Just now you were talking to Kevin. Kevin is one of the best examples of this collaboration that I was privileged conducting his Mendelssohn concerto when we did recording in Czech with Bohuslav Martinu Philharmonic last year. And ever since looking at Kevin's career, and it's like every time I'm hearing him, I was just hearing him on your interview. It's like, this is amazing. The guy is now touring Europe. He's a concertmaster of Tahoe Philharmonic, and I know the orchestra, I know the conductor. It's fantastic.
I'm reminded a little bit of Daniel Barenboim's West-East Divan, which brings together, Palestinians and Jews, and Israelis rather, and that's been around for 20 years or 30 years, and that's a demonstration of that ethos.
Yeah. Well, I wish that bears more fruits, especially nowadays.
Well, they're still together, and Barenboim is not well, but I think the orchestra will keep going in that regard. Now, tell me a little bit about the Ecuador recording session and other international collaborations. What's going on with that? What's the Ecuador recording session about?
Ecuador is a unique case. Ecuador is a small country with a very strong musical tradition. I mean, it's a Latin American country torn apart with different, other challenges that internal. But somehow they managed to keep the cultural scene very, very strong. And their various orchestras, big one in Guayaquil, another one in Quito, another one in Cuenca. These orchestras are sort of now competing to work with us to get more of these perks, let's say, to put their orchestras on the map on Spotify and everywhere. So orchestra, the one we worked with last 2 years already, one was Jennifer Savage. Jennifer Wang was performing Rachmaninoff with them. It started with that collaboration, then it evolved into a recording which I went to Guayaquil to do with a pianist. We were playing with a young pianist also from the Cole Orchestra program. We went to record Saint-Saëns concerto, and it's about to be released probably this week, next week, very soon. So it's wonderful to see that. We continue with Ecuador even this year. This year we have public performance with them at the end of November, and that we are in the process of selecting soloists for that project, and we'll also open the slots to see who will be able to do a recording as well.
Now, you were also involved in another large-scale international recording project. This one with the upcoming Moravian Philharmonic Orchestra. So it's hard to keep up.
I like to be busy. I honestly like to be busy. I always call it a happy problem. Yes, with Moravian Philharmonic, it's also one of the finest European orchestras out of Czech Republic. We were supposed to do recording, I think, yesterday on June 10, or 11, but it was postponed because of the Middle East, let's say, developments, and a lot of our soloists, including myself, out of Saudi Arabia, we were having trouble, traveling safely and back and forth. A lot of things were, let's say, in turmoil, but we postponed it to October, and it's still ongoing project. That one is a different, slightly different, because that one does not have public performance attached to it. We are having this as a complete recording project, but having it for over several days, so it will probably culminate in 2 albums. And this is where we also encourage composers to submit their scores for our consideration to record them. As much as soloists need the stage, composers need their music to be heard as well. And this was obviously one of the thoughts behind Anna and I when we were discussing what to do with this opportunity. So we say contemporary music is a thing. Let's give it a shot. We did that with Butler Philharmonic in March. Some of the new fresh music was recorded, and I was very inspired to say we can do the similar thing in Czech Republic in October. And that's the plan for now. We're still in the process of receiving the scores, and it's very, very inspiring. I'm already worried that we will not be able to do all of them because it's too many, but it will be very, very difficult selection.
So the Moravian Philharmonic is an existing orchestra, and
It is.
You're bringing other musicians to join it as soloists?
Correct. As soloists and as the main stars of these recording albums.
Uh-huh. What are some of the performance? What are some of the music that you'll be recording in those 3 days?
Some of the music, okay, because the selection is still ongoing, but we know that we'll be doing Liszt Traumerei, for example. There will be the Liszt Totentanz for piano. There will be Elgar Concerto for cello. There will be some contemporary music completely newly written. One of them is written so fresh, it says the music for peace. It's about Middle Eastern music that one of the composers from Jordan composed that based on recent conflicts and aspiration for peace. So we were very inspired by new music, but also there will be some classical repertoire as well. Yeah. We're still in the middle of selecting them.
My own personal prejudice is that it's more important to record the new music because when you record a piece that everybody knows, then there are so many performances to choose from. But people still want it. So
we don't want to discriminate. We want to keep it even in terms of we're happy to record old music as much as new, but we are not happy to just do old ones. There must be some fresh element in it as well.
That's right. Now, tell us a little bit about your work in Saudi Arabia. You're the artistic director of Music Hubs. Exactly what does that mean?
Yeah. Well, Saudi Music Hubs is an initiative that was done by Ministry of Culture here when Ministry of Culture was created back in 2018. If you think of it, it's only 8 years that Saudi Arabia has, officially has a music as Ministry of Culture and music as part of their life. Historically, it was not the case, but now with the government support and with a lot of having, generation of Saudis that are very young and ambitious and forward-looking, very international, it was only natural to have music centers where we will do teaching and connecting, doing, music as an education, as a tool to connect different people to each other. And of course, as a demonstration that the country has turned its page of music being a problem and all that. So now I'm the artistic director of the hubs. We have 3 of them across the country, and we have close to 2,300 students learning different instruments across whole spectrum from flute to double bass, including Arabic instruments. We are having very full calendar of events. Almost every day there's something happening in one of our centers, including workshops, concerts, and international collaborations. We just finished massive flamenco concert with Oscar Manuel, literally yesterday. And So, and next week onwards, we will have more children-related things because it's a summer and school holidays. So we'll have more related events that are children-based, and continuing this development with the ministry. Yeah.
So the music hub is educationally oriented towards younger kids, pre-college.
Yes, it's like pre-college and amateur. I would call it amateur learning as well. We have many students that are working adults that they never had a chance to learn music at their childhood, but now they have the opportunity and they take it as a hobby, as a recreational. But still, we believe it's important for them to be part of that.
My background is in classical and jazz radio. What's the classical radio situation like in Saudi Arabia?
There is a channel. There is one channel. It doesn't enjoy very high demand, but there is one channel, and it's run in Arabic language, which is telling. There are many Saudi people that they were born or raised in the West, in the UK and Switzerland and US, and it's part of their daily life, and I think they are tuning to that radio as well. And jazz, you mentioned, jazz is another thing that we champion too. We have specifically a teacher who teaches jazz vocal and teaches jazz piano. And it's a genre that we find Saudis very interested in, and not only young, but even young at heart people are very much into jazz.
Is the channel you mentioned all classical?
No, it combines classical as we know it with classical Arabic music. Classical Arabic meaning some of the cinematography music of Egyptian cinema from, let's say, after World War II. That period, all the way until now, including some of the Lebanese and Arabic in general, not only Saudi. But majority of it is classical music.
I can recommend a project that they might be interested in, and that is one that I started myself many years ago. I did a weekly program in Nebraska, if you've ever heard of Nebraska, in Lincoln.
I did.
That featured every week a gifted pre-college instrumentalist. And I had a competition, and another program developed after mine called From the Top. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Not yet, but
From the Top is, and you might take this. It's 25 years old, and every week, and I did this in Chicago too. I was in Chicago for 16 years. I developed a program called Introductions. Every Saturday morning, live, we had a pre-college instrumentalist, chamber ensemble, band, chorus, or orchestra perform, and it was live on Saturday morning. And I was told that it would last about 6 months, and then I wouldn't be able to raise any money. I raised so much money. I raised about $50,000 in 3 weeks, because the idea was to put the spotlight on young musicians instead of the football players. And right away, people got that. And the program is now 20 years old, and that's just in Chicago. So
interesting.
And the talent of young people, and we're talking some of them 6 and 7 years old, and then of course older kids, but all pre-college, and these orchestras and the bands and the chorus and the project, and we've never run out of material. So it's something that you might consider in Saudi Arabia, because I'm sure the kids there are just as gifted.
Interesting. Well, I don't have direct connections with the radio, but I'm happy to take it and probably pass it around to them somehow to consider that kind of a collaboration. Why not?
I don't know how the funding goes in Saudi Arabia for something like that, but in the United States, I raised all the money in Chicago from individuals. And I don't want to be too exaggerated, but they kind of fell all over themselves to fund it, because I made the analogy between, I said, I'll bet you know the name of the quarterback of the high school football team. But you know the name of the concertmaster of the orchestra? No. So I made that point, and that so you might think about that. And as I say, from the top is over 20 years old, 25 years old.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing. This is so inspiring.
Yeah. And it's a good program because it brings tears to my eyes, frankly, when I see a 6 or 7-year-old pianist just playing Chopin or Mozart, beautifully.
Yeah,
It's quite inspiring. It gives you faith in the future of humanity. I'll tell you the truth.
indeed.
Tell us a little bit about your own work as an adjudicator. I guess you've been able to judge the competitions.
Yes, well, I started before pandemic, obviously. That's why it was more in-person experiences. But then, since pandemic and since everything moved online for a while, I think we developed this kind of a new skill of doing adjudication, especially in music. It's not always easy online. Thanks to these platforms that Anna, for example, developed, it's a lot more better and easier. We were doing it regularly with Sound Espressivo over the next 4 or 5 years now. And I kind of get used to that now. I don't even find it difficult or struggling with any understanding the colors of sound and everything. It's coming through. So yeah, I do that a lot with Sound Espressivo, but also with other platforms and other similar competitions that happen in Southeast Asia, especially in Indonesia and Thailand. That it was quite a booming period during pandemic. People needed that outlet, so we're doing a lot of work on that. In the process of that, most important thing in the process, we discover people that we never know about, and they couldn't afford traveling back and forth, but they could afford a good internet, and we found them. Then we managed to get them invitations and fundraising and everything for them to actually travel and perform in places like Singapore or Malaysia.
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. As you look towards the future for Cole Orchestra, what are some of the highlights coming up in the rest of this year and the next year?
Well, these coming 2 years are already quite busy with recording and performing projects that we developed. But if we think further than that, that's where we think we will get very busy, because more and more orchestras are coming to us and saying why we want to be part of this initiative. We want to benefit from the fact that you can discover this soloist for us, and especially at that kind of beneficial financial models. And we see this continuing, growing. We're actually trying to see how we can scale it up without losing any quality of the work we do. Because Anna and I were doing a lot on our own without many people supporting it. But now we have that opportunity as well. So I think we will be expanding more into European orchestras and probably getting more into Latin America, because we already have a strong base in the States. This year we are doing a new orchestra in Mexico, which is also not far, and it's also beneficial for our US communities. And we are also working with several orchestras in Southeast Asia, including Thailand, Philippines, and Australia. Not finalized yet, but it's all ongoing process.
Very exciting.
All right.
And I congratulate you on all the international work you do, and your work with mentoring people, and everything you've done in Saudi Arabia. You are somebody that must be very hard to keep up with.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. And thanks for the opportunity to share about all these things with the audiences.
Well, Gevorg Sargsyan, thank you very much for giving us your time, and good luck.
Good day.
Look forward to seeing you.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. Bye.